Hello and welcome to another weekly wrap-up where we're going to be reviewing 2 books each from what we've read in the last week. My name's Johnny, this is Lou. Today I've got 2 non-fictions to talk about, as per.
I've got, actually this week I've been a bit different.
Okay.
I've got 1 non-fiction and 1 fiction. So yeah.
Okay, so these are the books, I believe. You're the same. These are off our TBR.
Yes.
What we said we'd read through March. So I'm starting with today, Alain de Botton's Religion for Atheists. So the idea behind this whole idea is that religion brings with it a kind of purpose to one's life, and that's often one of the most attractive things about it. It kind of gives you a reason for doing what you do, and as well as the kind of whole afterlife thing of it's nice, the niceness of kind of thinking that everything's going to be fine. Now, obviously, atheism is really growing in popularity all around the world, especially in the United States and over here in the UK and most of Europe. And that's all well and good, and everyone believes in what they want to do. But the thing is, what kind of comes with atheism is that kind of sometimes lack of purpose to do anything. I know that's a problem with a lot of philosophers who were atheists. They just didn't have that purpose or drive without a kind of overarching reason. Yeah. So the idea for this is Alain de Botton has come up with ways that we can make our lives more purposeful. Okay? By using religion. So, for example, if you're not religious, why should you not go on a pilgrimage? Just because you don't really believe in Christianity, why should you not still take comfort or, take joy from the architecture of a church? There's so many pieces of art, for example, that has been made for religious purposes. So if you don't believe in that, why can't we still take the joy from that art, right?
Yeah.
For instance, Elaine talks about in the book about using psychotherapy and how kind of therapy and seeing a shrink isn't the kind of bad thing that everybody sees about it, I mean, people are sometimes embarrassed to go and admit that they're going through some stuff, and Elaine, as all of his other work, is there to promote, well, no, the brain is one of the most complicated things. I mean, he says in the book, just because there's phone shops out there, and why should shampoo get a shop and your brain not get a shop? You know, it's all that kind of emotional intelligence brand that he talks about. Now, I did mention this in the TBR, I believe, if I can remember correctly, that Elaine is the founder of the School of Life, which is a huge YouTube channel and definitely worth checking out. And when you just when you're reading this, you can just hear that kind of School of Life, like almost, like song-like way of writing he has, and you just read it in his voice, and it is, it's great. The only thing is, it's obviously a very heavy read. It's very, not in a bad sense, but it's not a kind of guilty pleasure sort of style. It's a very, I'm going to learn something, I'm going to see the world in a different way.
Yeah.
That was,
Stars?
I'd say a 4 star. So that's Religion
Is that just
for
because
Atheists.
it was quite heavy?
Just because it was quite heavy, and you really, I mean, you're not dragging it back up there and I've got to learn about this. I'm gonna, it's that, but it's definitely an interesting perspective, and I would recommend it if you fancy that kind of thing. But I would understand why someone said, I'd watch the TED Talk and I get what he's saying, but I'm not that interested. It just depends on how much, like, kind of, if you're kind of struggling with purpose through this reason, then this is the book for you.
Yeah, excellent. Well, my first book that I read this week, so going a bit different, but we've got a true crime book here by Christopher Berry D, and it is Talking with Serial Killers.
Yes.
Now, this is great, and for any true crime fan, I think they'd have to give this a read, because it is good. However, now this was a 3-star read for me.
Right.
And that is just because it's a bit misleading, the title of it, Talking with Serial Killers. He doesn't actually do that much talking with serial killers.
Right.
He's maybe got one tiny bit at end of each chapter. It does cover a wide range of killers, everything from Harvey Lewis Carrigan, none. Yeah. And John Martin Scripps as well. So we've got all those people. Kenneth Allen Macduff, that's another one. So we've got some really nasty criminals in this book.
Yeah.
And they're all serial killers. They've all done something wrong. And that's great. If you're into crime, that's fantastic. Although, if you are really into crime, the problem that you'll probably have with it is the backstory at the beginning of each chapter, which stretches nearly till the end of it, you'll know about.
Yeah.
This is all the stuff that you'll know. And the actual bit, what you actually really want to do is see what they actually said to him, and I don't say that much. Although he does say that he interviewed them for several years sometimes. The actual small bits that he actually got from it, you know, he does describe like how it was in the prison when he first saw them, how they walked towards him and stuff, which is really, really interesting. And we've got some creepy pictures in there of what he took. I think that one was taken when he actually was there speaking to somebody on death row. You know, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, that's the only thing. That's why it was just 3 stars. But I really, really enjoyed it. Just like I enjoy all these types of stuff. But for true crime fans, probably you'll know about it. But the backstories are always really interesting to read anyway. Yeah. But because these are so, you know, maybe people like John Martin Scripps are not that well known to some people in true crime. So yeah, from that point of view, you know, there's so many people in here. You know, so there's Carol Mary Bundy as well, along with Douglas Daniel. You know, so from that point of view, it's really good. Yeah. But there is some addresses in here for the for the people what are on. I don't even know if they're actually still alive, but certainly when he went and spoke to them, there's some addresses that people, they actually want you to write letters to them in prison and things, which is kind of a bit weird. Yeah. But there's probably people out there that really like it. So if you want some addresses, there you go. Yeah,
if you want to send some fan mail over, some pictures.
But yeah, all the stories are really disturbing. But yeah, it's just interesting if you're a fan of true crime. So yeah, that's it.
Awesome. So my next book that I have finished this week is an audiobook. So I'm just getting my notes, and it is Michael Wolff's Fire and Fury, the American politics book about Trump and the whole election process and how he coped with everything just as he was elected and just before that. And basically Michael goes and interviews kind of a lot of people around that kind of ilk. Not really Donald Trump per se that much. I mean, I think he spent quite a fair bit in the White House kind of watching over as the transition period when he became president. But he makes a deal about how he's got kind of permission to write whatever he wants, and it's definitely exciting, that kind of thing. So the main bits, sorry, I'm just consulting my notes. The main bits are insane. I mean, I was hearing reviews coming from all over, like on the radio and on Facebook, and people going crazy. I mean, people are saying Trump is just like, I mean, you think he's a bit weird, but he's mad. He is mad. Like, so this doesn't sound like a real person. And then, I mean, regardless of your politics, he as a person sounds nuts. And definitely not someone you kind of would trust anyone with. You wouldn't trust, you know, if your fridge was like, if you said, oh, you know, make sure that my frozen produce doesn't melt. You know, make sure you put you come in late and you're busy, you have your shopping bags and you say, oh, Donald, just make sure all them get in the freezer so my sausage rolls don't go out of the way. And then but he just sounds mad. So yeah, there's certain bits I put down in my notes that certain bits are like almost wilder than kind of like the most weirdest shows. I mean, like Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and shows like that. It's like the story's up there with that. I mean, like certain bits like about him eating like burgers like early and like things he said like to people and like how vicious he is and how he spends so much time like kind of planning revenge on people. It's crazy. But obviously, I think the book's about like 11 hours long or something. The audiobook is quite a long one. Obviously, it's not all going to be like that because it's real life.
Yeah.
So obviously, kind of around 80-90% of it is very dry.
Right.
Or at least for me, it was kind of dry. I'm not an expert in any politics, but I'm definitely not an expert in US politics, so I didn't have a clue who half the people were. It did do a good job of explaining certain people like Rupert Murdoch and all these more famous one, and kind of the kind of more like media outlets explaining those people, but I think it just kind of expected you to know who the kind of the vice president's team are, etc. And it was just a little bit dry, and a little bit. I think it wasn't a struggle to read. And the narrator, I forget his name, but the narrator was absolutely fine. It didn't take me out of it at all. It was very steady, kind of a very generic kind of non-fiction style. Yeah. But I would say definitely the majority of it. It's a little bit like Breaking Bad. Like the majority of it is rather a bit slow and a bit boring, but then like something happens and you're like, oh my god, that's amazing, and it kind of makes the whole book kind of worth it. But Trump as a character just seems really weird. Obviously, he's not very likable from it, but you kind of feel sorry for him the majority of the book because it seems like he's a very troubled bloke and he doesn't really want to be there.
Right.
Not at least the book. The book kind of paints him out to be a lot less happy to be where he is than he seems on telly.
Right.
Apparently, he cried. He cried of pure sadness when he won, and he didn't think he was going to win. Nor did anyone on his campaign.
So did he not want to win? Then?
Apparently not, or at least he was very shocked, and he didn't think he was going to win. And everyone, the book covers people who were planning his campaign, and he got like Roger Stone on his campaign and things like that. And it's a great documentary about him, by the way, on Netflix. And he talks about the campaign, and they apparently just didn't really think they were going to win, and then suddenly they won, and they were like, oh my god, we actually now have to do something. And apparently there's a terrific panic and arguments with like Rupert Murdoch, because Rupert Murdoch didn't really like him, even though it's kind of like apparently a well-known thing that Rupert Murdoch supports Trump. Apparently he doesn't really, and there's lots of interesting things like that. So if that sounds like something up your street, I would recommend it. And the audiobook was a decent credit as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Stars?
Start 3 stars for me.
Yeah.
But it was, I'm not, 3 stars isn't bad.
No.
It was a decent read and I don't regret it. Would I re-listen to it or would I read it in print?
No.
Not now.
Okay.
That's in the past now for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I reverted back to type for the next half of the week.
Yeah.
And I went for another thriller. This one, In a Cottage in a Wood by Cass Green. I'll just flick because there was actually quite a lot to say about this book. So
Okay,
I wrote some notes.
Yeah.
Well, quite a lot to say in a negative way. I kind of get it. It was a 3-star read for me. That's only because something drove me to keep reading it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is about a woman called Neve. She lives in London. Her life's a bit of a mess. Mm-hmm. She lives with a sister in their house with her sister's husband, and it's all just a bit chaotic. Mm-hmm. They don't really want her there. She's outgrown their house. They've got children as well, so that's it. And so she goes on a night out. This is how the book starts. She goes on a night out, and without spoiling anything, because everybody will know if to pick up this book that that's what it's about. She comes across a woman on London Bridge, or the bridge, Waterloo Bridge. That's the correct one.
Yeah.
She comes across a woman on Waterloo Bridge. The woman knows her name. She hands her an envelope, and then she jumps off it and kills herself.
Gosh.
And you think, oh wow, this is going to be really interesting. And then she discovers that this woman has left her a cottage in Cornwall. And you kind of think, oh, this is really good, because it's supposed to be like quite scary, quite really creepy and stuff. And you discover like you're approaching half the book and she still hasn't got to the cottage.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then you're like, oh. And I think I said to you, last week that actually nothing's happening.
Yeah.
And it's just like, and then she gets to the cottage, and I think one night, without spoiling it for anyone, the lights go out, and she's in the dark. And it's like, yeah, that's maybe creepy if it was in real life, but when you're reading it in a book, it's not that scary. And then she meets the neighbours, and yeah, they're a bit weird. But nothing happens. But it's only a 3-star instead of a 2-star, because I think it was going to be a 2-star. But I kept expecting something to happen, which really made me think, oh, keep reading. Yeah, the ending's quite okay. That's why it was 3 stars, it's interesting. It does answer some stuff, like why she got the cottage in the first place. Because it is a bit weird to come across a stranger and then just get handed a cottage.
Yeah.
Certainly doesn't happen to me. It could do.
Yeah.
If you want to have me a cottage, that's fine.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes on this mad thing in one chapter where it's just all about her trying to find how to get electricity back in the cottage and going filling up the key. Do you know, filling up the key to pay on the meter. Which,
right.
I don't think that's... But had me grip from first page to last. No. Dark, gripping and totally compelling. No. It was only gripping because I kept waiting for something, because I was reading the gripping thing. It's like, this is
Does it have a good
gripping.
end?
It explains stuff, yeah, but I wouldn't say it was outstandingly good. But because it's not that great. I mean, even the cover makes the house look really creepy.
Yeah.
And yeah, the house is probably really creepy if you was there in real life and the lights went out. You would crap your pants.
Yeah.
But in a book, you don't. And that's it. So it was a bit slow. It was really slow, because you get to like, I think it must be about there before she actually gets anywhere near this cottage. And then most of the time it's raining, and she spends half the time just walking. And it's just like, she's either finding electricity, finding food, and it's like, yeah, that's probably what would happen, but this is a book. Extend your imagination.
Okay.
So that's what that was.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for watching. I think next week we are on target to finishing the TBR of March. Is that right?
I think so.
We've got 2 more to read before our next TBR.
2, 4, 6. Yeah, this is my 6. I've got 2 more. Yeah.
Yeah, we only got 2 more.
I've forgotten what they are. But, yeah, they are on my shelf. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So if you have never checked out any of our videos before, definitely please do that.
Yes.
And yeah, thank you for watching.